A lot to talk about on this week's show. I'm Gavin, the host. This is the man, the Mr. Legend, Mr. Andy Demi.
Hello.
He's in a strange mood today. Be warned if you're tuning in live with us. We are broadcasting live on Facebook in our group, the Crypto and FX Traders Club. And we are also live on YouTube. Mate, before we jump into all the crypto stuff, and a lot has been happening, I've got a question for you, and I'm not sure if you're going to know the answer.
Go on.
Okay, you can play along at home as well, but no cheating. And I can see that this guy, he won't be able to cheat, so that's why I'm asking him now live. So, you fancy yourself as a bit of a football aficionado, right?
Yeah.
Mo Salah, congratulations at the weekend. He was the 5th fastest player to get to 100 goals in the Premier League.
Yep.
Can you name the 4 players that have done it faster than him?
Oh,
no pressure, mate. No pressure. Play along at home if you wish. I mean, it's I think you don't.
I know one of them, Thierry Henry.
Yep. Okay. So 3 left.
Good question.
Well, I'll give you a couple of seconds to think about it. We'll just say some hellos. So we've got Gary Hartley in the house. Good to have you with us. We've got Andy McCullin. Great to have you with us, sir. And representing the YouTube crowd, Nicholas and Slavic as well. Great to have you all with us. We've got Nick. Great shout. Ronaldo. He's not in the top 4. He's not in the top 5 fastest. That would have been a good guess. Raj, I know you like your footy as well. Maybe you want to... Shearer, yep. He was the top. He was the fastest. Alan Shearer was number 1. Thierry Henry was number 4. So you're now just struggling with number 3 and number 2.
It's a tough question.
It's not really a tough question. If you know your football, you would even just hazard a couple of guesses. I'll give you one. I'll give you one hall pass. So if you make a decision, if you make a guess and it's wrong, it's fine. It won't count against you. So Kevin's saying, if you've just tuned in, the question is. So Andy supports Liverpool, in case you didn't know. He talks about it most weeks or in the group when we're not talking about trading. And just as a little appetizer before the main meal, where we get into cryptos, where it's been a busy old week so far, I wanted to ask him, who are the top 5 fastest players to get to 100 goals in the English Premiership, or English Premier League, EPL as it's known over here in Oz? So Mo Salah is a star striker for the team he supports, which is Liverpool. There's 4 other players that have done it faster. He's guessed player number 4, which is Thierry Henry. He's guessed player number 1, which is Alan Shearer. Who is 2nd and 3rd?
Did Rooney do it?
Not in the top 4.
No.
Lucky for you, Kevin's here. Aguero in at number 3. So we've got 1 player left, who is the 2nd fastest.
I know it wasn't a Liverpool player. I know that for sure. I would have known it otherwise.
Definitely not Ian Rush. Okay, well, we'll come back to that. I'll let you have the show to think about it. He's a current player. He's a current player from the modern era. I'll give you that much. So let's jump in to things. I love Zach's basically like, no idea. I'm in Japan. I don't care. Is this a soccer question? Yes. Oh.
Your internet's going a little bit, mate. I might have to start calling you Wi-Fi again.
Oh, come on. No way. Right, let me know if it happens again and I'll have to move. The missus is coming back from yoga, so I've been shunted into the bedroom so that she doesn't walk in the middle of our webinar when she gets back to the apartment. So look, let's jump into things, and if we do cut out, let me know and I can move. So it's been a big week, and you, my friend, managed to catch one thing that you always seem to have your finger on the pulse, It may not be soccer or football, as you call it, but you don't miss much when it comes to trading. So let's talk all things fake news, Walmart, Litecoin, Litecoin surging up, Bitcoin smashing down. Talk to us about it.
Yeah, that was some incredible trade. I posted a screenshot in the group. I didn't do the whole picture. There was some other background stuff that I identified a great technical level, the 50 moving average across the 200. So from a technical point of view, it was perfect. I thought, yeah, it's a good trade. I'll buy it. It should get to the top of the range in the next 24 hours. Well, within 5-10 minutes with these fake news, it had blown through, like just blown through the top of the range, and it was just flying. But the best was hearing Nick take the trade, but whilst he was running. I thought that was fantastic. So he was running, he paused his run, he looked at his phone apparently, took the trade, and then when he finished his run, he closed his profit. How good is that?
Just clarify for those that are new to the group. Who's Nick?
Oh, Nick Abraham is right here with us.
The one and only. He's actually here on the Gold Coast, where I am.
He is. So that's why he can run outside, because it's not raining all the time.
That is how we roll. And obviously, you know, he has a bit of an unfair advantage because he's on the Crypto Like a Pro program that you teach. But this is how we roll on the Gold Coast. We go out for a run along the beach, blue skies, palm trees. Yep, midnight. Oh, okay, not blue skies, but his midnight run banked him $2,650. Boom!
Amazing, and it's like we set that up. It's like we put the rumor out there. If somebody was investigating us, they would think that it was us. It couldn't have happened any faster. I was like, what the hell is going on? And then the market completely reversed once that we realized it was fake news, that Walmart were partnering with Litecoin.
I mean, look, when you think about it logically, it doesn't make sense, does it? 100%, Walmart are one of the biggest retailers in the US. They are definitely coming into this space.
Of course.
Why would it be Litecoin?
Well, we don't know. I mean, did you see the post I posted this morning? The post office apparently is linking up with, I didn't know them. I looked them up straight away though. A decentralized exchange that's going to help them do kind of a decentralized ID checking. Swarm Markets, I believe I read, and I actually signed up to their thing just to find out more about them. They've got this app called Yoti app apparently. And yeah, it looks really good. You can't invest in Yoti app, by the way, but Yoti are using this Swarm Market, so it looks quite interesting. But I guess like for the biggest news about that is just showing you little glimpses of what's going to happen. Like everyone's going to be doing this in some form, and we don't know what projects they're going to be partnering with, but that's why I firmly believe in diversifying. You know, you've got to diversify, because you just don't know what the next big project is. And you don't need to have a lot of money in a project. If you get a massive partnership, things will just explode. And these are going to happen more and more, for sure.
And obviously, you know, it's interesting that you say like one of your favorite sectors or section is the DeFi space. And obviously the post office are quick to capitalize that. They're not silly. And it's definitely an interesting space. But why did that cause so Litecoin went up 25% and then Bitcoin kind of had a bit of a dump? Why would that cause that from your mindset as a trader? Like, what were you expecting to happen as you were seeing this unfold?
I mean, that could happen for any reason. I mean, like I'd have to have a look at the on-chain stuff, but there's one of the explanations can be like, you know, if you're going to buy Litecoin, you've got to swap it for something. So indirectly, that could have been against Bitcoin, but as a whole, a partnership like that, yes, Litecoin would go up the most if that was a real partnership, but the whole crypto space would go up. And then so it's like, did they go up together? I didn't see what Bitcoin was doing, but the point is like, okay, we're buying cryptos and we're buying loads of Litecoin, and maybe Litecoin's now gone up too much and we're buying other cryptos, but eventually, no, this is fake news and everything gets dumped. So it's like a positive for the crypto space if you have a deal like that, because it just opens the door up to say, well, this is now becoming mainstream. And it doesn't matter if it was Litecoin or something else. Obviously, we know that wasn't true, but it's good to see how the market would react if that were real, because something like that will probably happen. And I think that the interesting space for me to look out for are the big boys. What are Google, Amazon, Microsoft going to do? That's where, this can be a massive move for crypto higher. Like any kind of announcement from those boys to say, we're adopting Bitcoin, we're adopting a crypto into our platform. And I think it's inevitable, by the way. I just don't know how soon they will do it, but I think it's inevitable. And I think that will be the potential catalyst to take us to new highs in Bitcoin. Something like that can do that. But just one little note, because you mentioned the DeFi space. One thing to kind of really look up, guys, is there's a bill, the infrastructure bill that's been passed this month. And it's a very, very important bill because it is to do with how cryptocurrencies are viewed, whether they're viewed as an asset or whether they're viewed as a security. And I don't know if you read much about that, but the thing is, the DeFi space could be in trouble at the end of this month. So I would just be a little bit cautious, because if the SEC starts going after them, obviously they're gonna it's gonna potentially do what has happened. It's gonna be the same as what's happened to Ripple. So it's because at the moment it's an old bill that needs updating, but whether it's going to get updated or not remains to be seen.
So it is interesting. Is this the same one? So SEC Chair Gensler has been called up before the US Senate, but he's going in front of the US Senate within the next 24 hours, I believe. 24 hours of this show.
No, so the bill, I think, is not going to be passed, I think, until at least the 20th. I don't know if there's a set date for a decision. I don't believe there is a set date, but I think it's on the 20th comes to them. But I'll find out and I'll share it in the group.
Cool. So in this one, if it is a different one, it sounds like it could be a different one. So the SEC Chair Gary Gensler, who used to work for Goldman Sachs. So whether he's got a skin in the game, whether he's biased or not, we'll leave it up to interpretation. But the interesting thing is, and I wanted to speak to you about this. So he's being called up mainly because of concerns of lack of investor protection within the crypto space. So already crypto is a $2 trillion market, which is still tiny compared to where it's going. But get this right as to why their reasons are. Insider trading, Ponzi schemes, people being fiddled out of their money. Sounds like the last 20, 30 years of the stock market and the banking industry.
Exactly. Where are they dealing with those things?
Exactly, right? It just, when I saw that, it just made me laugh. And I was like, one thing that I don't like is hypocrisy. Like it triggers me a lot. And I have to work on just trying to be present with that. But it's very funny. And when you dig in a bit closer, they're saying, okay, so some of the things that they're looking to regulate in one way, shape or form is crypto exchanges and lending platforms. Now, this is something which I think could be and actually, let's do it this way. So tell me whether you think that this would be a good thing or a bad thing for the crypto market, and then we can discuss it.
I think it's a good thing. I think regulation isn't a bad thing. Like, is the FCA regulation a bad thing for brokers? No, I don't think so. We still trade, and you get the protection. And in fact, it kind of, in a way, gives it legitimacy. So I don't think regulation is the issue. I think it's actually a positive thing, because then, there are important bodies basically saying, okay, this is something to be regulated. This is real. It's not just a scam. It's not just a made up thing. Digital currencies are here to stay. And now we need to do them properly. We need to structure them properly, which haven't been done so far. So I actually think it's a good thing. And it means that the brokers can't do underhanded things. Well, they can, but they can get closed down. So, I think all of that is positive. But yeah, we just got to watch the space. There's a lot of uncertainties, and they can go both ways. This month is important. And I'll share one more thing after you finish what you're saying about this stuff. Another important event coming up.
Great. So one of the key things that they're looking about is crypto exchanges and lending platforms, which I totally agree with you. I think regulation can only be a good thing. However, if it's the same old game and the same old people that are regulating it, that's where I question it. Are they really that important, or are they using antiquated beliefs and systems to try and put on something that is going to be totally new to this space? That's where it's going to get interesting.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think if you look at, say, like the FCA, I mean, having worked under an FCA license and having helped, like my previous hedge fund acquire license, and even now I'm advising somebody about the license. They are very rigorous in their checks. It's not about restricting; it's actually about protecting. There's a lot of hoops that you need to go through at the top regulator, which is the FCA. So I don't think that it should make a difference, and it shouldn't really have an impact on the way we do things now. I hear what you're saying. I wouldn't imagine it will have a negative impact, but obviously I don't know, because the one thing that we do currently have is obviously very high volatility in cryptos. But, I think one of the things that some of the brokers have already done anyway without the regulation is they've reduced the amount of leverage available. So, for example, Binance and FTX, two brokers that we recommend, they've reduced their leverage to 20x now instead of 100x. Because the reality is the metrics show that the crashes that we're having in Bitcoin are a direct result. Well, I'll rewind a little bit. Not a direct result, but it's the eventual big reason why the market actually crashes the way it does. So you might get a bit of whale manipulation, creating the scene to attract the fish, but the fish are biting and they're over leveraged fish, and then what happens is everybody's getting liquidated, and the thing is the platforms are a little bit, they're not very efficient. So it's like the platforms shut down, nobody can get out of their positions, and it's just spirals, and that's what's happening. So even that regulation might be able to sort out, like they may need to update their systems, because normal brokers it doesn't happen, but then the selling pressure, it doesn't happen that way as well. So it's because the asset classes here are very volatile, but we like them like that. That's what gives us the potential gains. But it's just got to be streamlined a little bit, controlled a bit more. And I think that will be a good thing for the markets.
Yeah, that was the second one that I was going to ask you about. They're saying the other area they want to look at is stable value coins, which now you've just explained it like that. I'm pretty sure that's what that whole section is. The next one is investment vehicles providing exposure to crypto assets or crypto derivatives.
Yeah. I mean, at the moment, that's going to, I can see that being the case. I can see I've already seen, but it's not regulated, but like ETFs, like synthetic ETFs, which mimic a select group of coins. So you could invest in this synthetic ETF. It's a derivative, basically. So essentially, let's say like it might contain 10 cryptos. So rather than you going having to worry about buying the top 10 cryptos, it might be you just invest in this ETF, and then basically, if the portfolio goes up, then you make money, and if it goes down, you lose money. So you're not worrying about any one crypto. Obviously, you can do that yourself, but it just makes it easier. And I think there will be investment products created that do that. That just like we have now, we have like mutual funds that mimic the S&P 500, for example. I think there will be things like that. That's a completely new market. So the more, sorry, I've got the windows open because it's hot in here, but the more mainstream it becomes, that's where I think it will move towards. Like, I think, but the thing is, right now you can buy these synthetic ETFs. They are available on certain exchanges. So there's a lot of stuff being built. But in terms of like investment vehicles in a regulated entity, I don't believe that's available yet. For like one of the things that they're talking about is the Bitcoin ETF, which I don't think is available yet, but I think is very close from what I have heard.
Interesting.
And that would be great. I'd invest in that because you can potentially put that under an ISA as well.
Huh. Clever. We know you've got your finger on the pulse on all things cryptos and FX. So if that's,
I do. I don't sleep much, mate.
Well, your new bait, I know, but at least you turn it into a positive, right? Most parents are woken up by their kids and just trying to go back to sleep. You're like, sod it, I'm just gonna trade some cryptos, or find out what I can do in the world of crypto. So and again, it's really important that there will be the guys who are experienced in this and they know they've been around the block like you, but are involved in the exchanges that have got the necessary regulatory papers in line with all the regulatory bodies now. They've done it before it needed to happen. They're going to be the exchanges that might be small now, but they're the ones that are going to rise up. Potentially,
yeah. That's true. I mean, it's a very competitive, because I've been, I've invested in a few exchanges, but it's very, very competitive. Like there's so many of them, and the more I dig, the more I find, and they're good exchanges, and it's hard to sort of see who's going to come out. I guess it's like when you look at FX brokers, right? You've got so many available, but in the end, it's 3 or 4 that really lead the pack, and that's probably what will happen. It will be 3 or 4, but I do think the DEX space is the area where there's really massive growth potential. The decentralized exchanges. I think there's a lot of room there because at the moment it's quite complicated for the general person to use them. But I think it will improve, it will grow. There's a lot of, I think that the term what's the term? I can't say it. Where you can basically swap one crypto for another crypto that's not on the same ecosystem. So like, for example, Uniswap.
Interoperability, is that the one?
That's the one. Yeah, it's a very commonly known term. I can never say it. I hear it all the time. But that is so key because one thing that I always recommend is become a user, like if you can, of what you want to invest in. And when I use Uniswap, I realize its limitations in many ways. It's great, but I also realize its limitations. And I also realize some of the limitations on Ethereum, like even though the gas fees have gone down, it's still expensive relative to others. But I can only swap one Ether, one crypto for another crypto that's on the Ether platform, right? Whereas really what you want to be able to do is to swap anything for anything in a decentralized way. That's the idea.
And for as little fees as possible, right? That's
exactly
where,
that. Yeah.
That's the future. When it will happen at some point, and when it happens,
it is already available, being built. Just not very big yet.
That's the difference. And when more people become aware of that factor and that's available, we'll all be scratching our head like, yes, we've made gains. in certain areas because you're in the forefront of this, but it does get messy, and there are things that most definitely can be improved. But we'll look back on that and go, wow, like I paid how much to send that to there and how much to take this out of here, and now it's like it's a fraction of the price. But that comes with evolution, I think, right?
Yeah, I think, yeah, evolution, knowledge. I mean, it does. I think, like, there's always ways you can do stuff, and obviously you learn along the way the best way to do things. Because even gas fees, there are times where it's super expensive over another time. So you're like, I just want to swap this, but I don't really want to pay $300 to swap this. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, and you're like, what am I going to do here now? Am I going to wait till tomorrow morning? And then what if the price has moved?
Exactly.
And you're like, I'm just like refreshing for half an hour. Like, but yeah, it's extremely expensive. I mean, that's just ludicrous. Some of the swaps that you have to pay, but yeah, sometimes I just think, do you know what? If I think it's a good swap, then I'll just do it.
Yeah. When you factor it into, when you absorb it into the cost and everything, it's like it's still a fraction of a fraction of a percent or something like that sometimes.
Exactly.
But it's still the principle though, right? It's still the principle.
Oh, it's the money as well, mate. It's not just the principle. Like, I feel like I've just chucked $300 down the drain. Because, normally you can just go into an exchange and swap for barely nothing. So, there's a lot. There's so many different areas that have to be developed, and that's why I really believe, as I said a few times, like diversify, invest in a few projects that you like, because you have more chances of catching the next big move, like Luna, for example, which went from 13 cents to now nearly $40 in a year. And there's other examples of that. So yeah, it's I really do believe that that's the best sort of strategy.
Very good. Very good. So hopefully that sheds some light on there for maybe a few things that you didn't know. Maybe it's helped you connect a couple of dots, or maybe it's just a place where you're like, yep, I know this, but at least you're getting alternative opinions with like-minded people in the tribe that is the Crypto and FX Traders Club. So we've gone over all of that now. We've covered the news. We've covered the big SEC meeting with Gensler and the US Senate. We've obviously covered Andy and some of our students. Well, one of our students on a midnight run, he banked $2,650, jumping into the Litecoin and Walmart fake news trade, should we call it? So congratulations to Nick on that. So now, even though we do say ourselves about ourselves, I said this earlier in a video I did make. I don't know many people in the world. Like, there's a lot of people giving their thoughts, but they're never able to back it up, right? You must see they're 2 a penny on the internet. They're definitely 3 a penny on Twitter. But for someone who's got the background of a hedge fund trader who will actually do live chart analysis anytime, anywhere, to give us an accurate representation of what Bitcoin's likely to do in the next few hours, few days, or few weeks, I think we're all pretty happy and pretty fortunate to be here to watch you do your stuff. So with that being said, let's jump into the chart and look at Bitcoin after all of that that's gone on and see what we think is going to be happening over the next few hours, few days, and few weeks, and where things are likely to head.
Yeah, let me let's bring it up. I actually bought a little bit this morning. I mean, I took it on my trading account as well, but I added a little bit to my portfolio this morning, thinking we might get a little bounce from that news, which we have. I wasn't sure how if the market would react to that or not, but I thought it was pretty good news for Bitcoin. So let's bring in the daily chart. So I'm just gonna have a quick little look and then clean this up. So before I clean it up, if it needs cleaning, let me just have a look to see where we are. Yeah. So I was looking at this morning, and I think that the thing, firstly, like let's talk about the short term, which is like what's happening right now. What's happening right now, we can put a box around. Essentially, we are stuck in this little range. So that's the kind of the first thing that we need to say. So it's almost like we've had this big drop, and I feel like right now the market's a bit uncertain. Are we going down to these levels? Are we going up? So I think the market doesn't know at this stage. There's kind of it's almost like let's take a breather and let's figure this out. That's kind of what it feels like. So I think short term, I think it's an idea to just focus on the current opportunities without having to necessarily guess where it's going to go. But I will give you the scenario that is optimal for us for a swing trade. So firstly, let's just expand this out. So we've got this channel line, which is basically a parallel of here. Okay. And if I just kind of show you, you can see that it's quite a nice reactive line. And off the back of this drop, one of the things that I always like to measure off, especially off a drop like that, is if there's no momentum. So this is going to be a little bit of gold for you if you understand it. So if the market is in a downtrend, right, especially with something like Bitcoin like that, and the market goes and pushes down, the pullback could be what we call a shallow pullback. Because there's a lot of selling pressure. Everybody understands we're in a downtrend, right? So therefore, you don't tend to get big pullbacks. So if you take this as an example, look at the small pullbacks here, right? So you tend to see more like that, small pullbacks. And if you go to a lower time frame, you'll see that even more. This, however, is not a downtrend. This has actually been channeling up, and then we've had this big drop. So because it's not a downtrend, you could reasonably assume that the buyers will fight back because we are in an up channel. And if the buyers are going to fight back, there's a chance that they might take it up more than the sort of shallow pullback towards the most common ratio, which is the 618. So I always, in this scenario, want to know where is the 618. So I'll take a kind of high to low, and the 618 is where my green line is, right there. So it's just shy of 49,000. I think as an upside target right now, that's a really nice area. So if you're long, that's a nice area to look out for some potential resistance and a good profit-taking area, even if you want to cut some of your trade or investment. So if you're not long, I would certainly be looking at that as an area of resistance where the market might pull back. Now, the optimal part now. So now I'm talking about short term. I think that if you find a good entry, as I have this morning at the bottom of this range, it's definitely worthwhile. I could potentially cut some of it at the top of this range and then leave the rest to see if we can just push up a little bit higher, find this old support, and that's 618. Okay, so that's the short-term plan. Now, if this market was to go down, I would love this area here to be our buy zone, right there. Because what do we have here? We have the 200 EMA acting as dynamic support. We have the potential of this this channel line, this really, really great old resistance, double purple line there, becoming support. So it's possible that we could go up and still do that, by the way. That's not impossible. But I would say that it's more a case of like it'd have to happen quite quickly. So we spike up and then something else happens and then it does that and then it does that. I think if this spikes down now, this could be a really nice area to be looking. Now, I want to give you a different scenario of where the market could go. Because if you're going to be accumulating and you want to buy value, this would be one of my zones. But I want to give you a second zone because I think this is a possibility as well. The 1618 and even the 200 down here. If you want to accumulate Bitcoin right now, again, this is not investment advice, and you are not long right now, and you want to buy this for the long term, short term, trade it. Try and buy it up to here or buy the bottom of the range. Do what I'm doing now. Long term, this would be buy zone number 1. And if for some crazy reason we got down here, that would be buy zone number 2. And then a third crazy reason, then that would be buy zone number 3. Now, I don't know if we're going to have such a drop. I don't know that. If we don't have any sort of drop at all, and this just goes up, then you're going to be looking for pullbacks at that point. So, for example, let's say this market didn't stop here and it just kind of started to really start to go higher. In that case, we'll be talking about, okay, old resistance, let's buy it. It becomes support. And we'll be looking at these levels to be buying it, right? So you've just got to plan. And if it doesn't work out, then you wait for the market to kind of give you the pullback that you need to get involved. But in the short term, you should always be trading these opportunities because there's so many opportunities to grow your account. And eventually, when you do invest, even if the price is a little bit higher, you should hopefully have been growing your trading account so you've got more money anyway. So in relative terms, it's the same thing. And any questions there on that? Gavin, does that make sense? What do you think?
It's very, very interesting. I mean, if we got back down to the 200, I mean, we've just seen it's not out of the realms of possibility. That's for sure.
No. So in terms of value, that's around that sort of 41-ish thousand. Yeah. It's about 41, 42,000, something like that.
And the interesting thing that you've given us choices where there weren't any previously. So you've got the 200 EMA, which is option 1, and then you've got the 200 of the fib, which is option 3, right? And that is quite low down, but it makes sense.
It makes sense. Yeah, because I mean, look at this channel here. If putting our emotions aside of what we want to happen, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if that happened, for example, would anybody here be shocked? Because that's pretty normal in Bitcoin. That can easily happen. And as I've been saying, this is not to scare people, by the way, because I'm still buying Bitcoin. I'm still long cryptos. But I am prepared. Like my mind is open, and that's how you have to be. It's not like, oh my word, okay, I've got my portfolio. It's going to be 10 million by the end of this year. Like, you know, and all you're thinking about, okay, yeah, this one's going to triple. This is going to do a 10x, 100x. And you're just thinking about all the money you're going to make. But actually, good traders, good investors think about everything else. That's taken care of. The market's going to do its thing. It's great. If you're in it, great. But actually, what about if it does the other thing that we don't want to think about? What if it crashes? Then are you prepared? Have you got some cash available in case it does do something crazy? Like, it's possible, right? I mean, this is absolutely possible. So we have, and especially with like the news events coming out, the bill could kind of spiral something. And actually what's going on in general, in risky assets, you know, the stock market's overinflated, and there could be a play where people move into safer assets. And, what I was kind of saying, we've got a very important statement from the FOMC coming out this month, next week, I believe. We'll check the calendar, but I think next week. And, again, that's going to, if there's a hike in the interest rate, that normally leads to, people moving their money from risky assets and putting it into safer assets, because you're getting more interest now by holding dollars. So all of that can play a part in this very uncertain market. And if lots of things go wrong for cryptos in the short term, you could see why they might use that as an excuse to flush out the weak hands, the greedy hands, the over leveraged hands, and then reverse the market. And then, everybody's out and the big boys are making money again. And the little guy is just distraught and wrecked. Obviously, we want to stop that from happening, so that's why we do these shows, and I give you this advice because I want you to be prepared for everything. So that means actively prepared. Look at your portfolio. Am I over leveraged? Am I in position? Can I handle a setback like that? All of those things you should be thinking about right now, not when they happen. Yesterday I spoke about tax. Don't think about tax when you've made £1 million. Think about tax now, because when you've made the money, at that point, it's you've got to pay the tax. And if you haven't done the proper tax structure, you should have been thinking about it before. And it's the same with this. Don't wait for the market to crash and then think, oh my God, my portfolio. Think about your portfolio now where everything's nice and calm.
Well, and that is great advice, mate. And you're really going the extra mile just to open up the blinkers for everyone, just from different angles. And like I said, we know it. How many people in the world are actually doing this level of Bitcoin analysis and giving it away for free, which is a totally another thing. But one of the things that I want to comment on here is it's like nature's cycle, right? So the farmer knows that he's gonna plant his crop over the winter and grow it for the summer, and it goes in cycles. And the stock market, or the stock market, the crypto market, trading, whatever it is, when I first got into it, one of the things you helped me with is just because it's going up, it's not always going to keep going up, and don't get affected by it coming down. It's part of the natural cycle. So if it does come down, looking at that price, right? 42 down to what, 34? That's 20%.
Yeah, 42, 36 and a half.
Where's option 3 though? Where's option 3 if it goes down off that yellow
option
market?
3 is about 32, yeah.
That's 20. That's 20% dip on Bitcoin. Now, what have you said time and time again on this show? Bitcoin's daily trading range can be up to 25%, right? And that's still not classed as a crash.
So from where we are, about 26% from there.
So that is definitely a higher probability play now.
And back to these lows would be 36%. Yeah, I mean we've seen a lot more than that in the past. Let me just can I just check one more thing actually that I didn't do?
Do you have to drop more bombs, mate?
Right, let me just see something. I just want to see where the ABCD is. Yeah, that completed the D there. That didn't quite. So I just want to see. Hold on, let's zoom in.
So just while Andy's doing that and he's saying, hold on, I'm going to take this opportunity. I haven't spoken about it with Andy yet, but I'm sure you won't mind if I drop a little exclusive on what we've been talking about the past few days. Trading isn't for everyone. We know it's definitely an acquired taste, but this is a time when you can be making a lot of money over the next few months, few years, for your early retirement, for your future. So we are working on a product where Andy's going to help you invest in spot. So you don't have to be an aficionado about trading. You don't have to be in front of the screens, which Andy shows you not how to have to do that in trading anyway. But we're working on another product for the total layman that's not interested in trading whatsoever, doesn't want to kind of be interested, throw themselves into that, but you want to invest in something your friend, your sister's been talking about it and you feel like you're missing out. We're going to create a product for you where you can still make a lot of money just by hodling and spot investing. So keep your eyes out over the next few weeks. We'll let you know when we're ready with that. And we're really, really excited to help even more people here at the Crypto and FX Traders Club, sponsored by the London Trading Institute, just in case you didn't know that, which Andy's the CEO of and gives up a lot of his time to do shows like this. So hopefully that's given you enough time to work out what we're going to work out. And I just dropped that little exclusive bomb in there as well. So keep your eyes peeled, guys.
Yeah, no worries, man. Yeah, so the idea here, I wanted to see where we are on the current fib cycle. So we've done an AB, shallow pullback. We've come back to nearly pretty much the 618 there, which is a good pullback. But the official 618 is around 42,442. That's very interesting. So that's interesting. And then you've got this orange line here, which is 41,486. I really, really like that zone a lot. I would love it if it could drop down there so we could, because it kind of all pieces together if you understand how the fibs work. So we've got this confluence here, this purple line matching this orange line. So a pullback here into this little zone and then a rally to there. I think that looks like a really nice setup. If you want a swing trade, that's it. Buy. You could put your stop. If you want to be conservative, you could put your stop behind the A, which is this low down here. So the stop would be somewhere there. You'd risk that much and you'd be looking to make that much. So if you're going to do a swing trade, you'd probably definitely want to put more than 1% on, because that's not something, that's a significant move and you're probably making 2 to 1 on that. So I would be looking to do something like 2 to 3% or something like that to make, maybe 5 to 6%. I think that's a good little longer for people that work. You could stick your order in, your stop, your target, leave it alone.
Very good, sir. Very good. So we've had a couple of comments. Connor's saying, is it going to be a stacking pool? And Nick saying, Mr. Demi's ethical crypto hedge fund. We're going to keep you waiting a bit longer, guys. But yeah, so it's going to be something that you take control of, and Andy's just going to show you how to invest like a pro rather than the trading element. But obviously, if you can invest and buy at spot and trade, then that's the double whammy, and get involved in both of these sides of moves. Then obviously that means that you're just going to expedite your gains even quicker, which is almost not fair, but that's the way it is. Zach saying sounds like a plan. So with that being said, is there anything you want to say before we bounce? Before we do, actually, I'm just going to tell you you've had all the show to try and work out the Premier League. So at the beginning of the show, because Andy loves football, I asked him a question and he hasn't been able to answer it. So it's your chance now to redeem yourself. The top, so Mo Salah.
I've got 2 of them.
2 out of 5, and the other guys helped.
No, 2 out of 4.
Oh yeah, 2 out of 4, 50%. I never thought you'd be happy with 50%, but there we go. We've seen it live.
Well, considering it's a random question.
Question, just so that in case you're tuning in live now, where have you been for the last 49 minutes? Mr. Demi, the crypto warlord, has been dropping bombs left, right, and center today. So, top 5 players, quickest to 100 goals in the Premier League. Mo Salah just did it last weekend for Andy's team, which is Liverpool. We've got that one. Thierry Henry was in at 4. We got that one. You got that one. Kevin helped you with Aguero at number 3, and we've got Shearer in at number 1. Don't look at the comments because they're starting to come in and it may sway you. What is your best guess for number 2?
Well, people
second
say Kane, but I can't imagine Kane did it.
it's Harry Kane. It is Harry.
But you know what? I will say this. I don't think it's very fair, actually. Shall I tell you why?
What?
Because Mo Salah barely played for Chelsea, but he came on a few substitute appearances, and they count. They count as part of the 100.
He's still miles off Shearer and Kane.
No.
Do you know what? I don't know if they counted the Chelsea game.
No, they do. They do. That's why I always thought it's a little bit unfair because, like, he didn't even play full games. He came on for 5 minutes, and then that counts as an appearance.
Well, whatever supplements he's taking from when he was at Chelsea, he went to Italy, did whatever he did, and he's come back like he's on a different planet. So his dietitian definitely should be getting a fair cut of his wages. That's all I'm going to say. But it is class what he's done. So that's the football bit aside. I know it would have bugged you if we didn't close that loop off. So I'm glad we did. Thank you to everybody that joined in with that little game. Is there anything you want to say about cryptos or about trading or just about the markets in general before we bounce today, mate?
No, not me personally. I don't know if there was any questions. I wasn't following, but
no, we're going.
Yeah, we covered quite a lot there. I think, you know, as I said, I think you just got to be prepared, and you know, there's a lot of opportunities to trade right now. Not as many to invest, although there are. You have to look for them. You have to look for the strong cryptos. I'm doing a lot of. I think I've seen a couple of students doing the same. A lot of hedging, taking neutral positions as well, which basically just, you know, reduces risk. So if you see a crypto that's overvalued, like in the short term, then you can use that as a hedge against your portfolio. Like, so for example, you know, taking Atom, I've been long that. I bought a lot on the dip. That was a really good buy, and I've taken it all the way up because it was quite cheap. I've ended up with quite a big position. So because it's staked as well, I don't want to touch it. But then I'm looking at the chart and I'm thinking, wow, this is like overpriced now. I posted something in the group of the envelope. So I've taken a short as a hedge because if the market pulls back, if you know, and it allows me. So like, if the whole market pulls back, then the overvalued coins are going to pull back more, basically, because others like me have got profits. They're going to be thinking, let me take some of my profits. So those coins are more likely to go back down further. So if Bitcoin crashed, I'd be losing money on Bitcoin, but I'd be making money potentially on the short. So it's just managing that portfolio. It's essential to stay on top of, you know, growing your account. It does take some portfolio management. And it's something
we can talk. Yeah, sorry to cut you off there, mate. Were you going to say something else?
No, that's all, man.
I was going to say, maybe we can talk about that next week, where if you're in any longer term plays and they are doing well and they're overextended, there's always the guy who's going to sell at market and then cause the price to go down, right? Or the guys, plural, or people just taking profits. So if you're overextended, then it'll be a good idea for anybody watching this who is in their long-term plays to hedge at the top of the market channels. That's a really great shout.
Yeah, to hedge, I mean, you can or close half off, take your profit, and then plan for getting back in a little bit lower down, because then you can use that capital and put it somewhere else. So there's all sorts of things that you can do. And I'll take that. I'll take that one more question, which is before we wrap up. The my long-term forecast of Cardano. Somebody just asked.
Sneaky, just got it in just in time, Ismed.
Yeah, I'll finish off with this one.
On YouTube.
I'm bullish. I think there's a lot of projects out there now, like obviously Solana that's come out, and obviously you've got Ethereum, and you've got others that are kind of like in this space, layer one projects. But I think one thing that Cardano does have is it's very popular. It's got a lot of fans, which is going to help it grow. It's doing a lot of right things. I mean, it's still behind Ethereum, but it's trying to fix a lot of the things that Ethereum isn't. Especially like the gas fees and so on. But and I think that the fact that you can convert projects is a big thing now. I'm bullish. I think I think the overall market sentiment of cryptos is going to play a part in where Cardano goes next, because it's already gone up quite high. But it's, I do think at some point we will see, at least a $10 to $12 Cardano. From where we are now, that's about a 6x. But I think the overall market sentiment will determine whether it's now or whether it's, later on down the line.
You would think surely just on that. And also, Ismed, good question. We did a show on it last week. So Andy compared Bitcoin and Ethereum, which one he thought was going to go higher the quickest.
Yeah.
So make sure you check that show out from last week. But it's interesting. You would think surely that the Cardano price that you're mentioning wouldn't do it until it actually gets something out and working in the market, right?
Well, it's where it is now at number 3, without having done that. So,
which is nuts to me. That's just nuts.
But Dogecoin is in the top 10, which is what is Dogecoin?
Well, that's just the hype and pump and dump, isn't it?
That's what I'm saying. So Cardano has got a lot of fans. So, but at least Cardano does have substance, like it actually has got something there that it's building.
But you say that about Doge, but you can actually buy Doge, can't you? You can actually use it. It has a use in the market.
Yeah, fair enough.
Which is more than Cardano right now.
Yeah, true. But I don't think Doge is going to change the world somehow.
Maybe it already has. Maybe it already has. To go from what it's gone to where it went, that is just insane if you manage to pick that up. But look, guys, we're about to start talking for another hour if we don't jump off.
Exactly. We don't stop otherwise.
Which we can see for that. So look, guys, we're going to bounce. Thank you very much for tuning in. We love you all. And keep your comments coming in the Facebook group. Keep telling your friends if they're interested in cryptos and FX. Like I said, where else do we get a guy of this caliber giving all of this information for sweet FA every week without fail, even if it's raining in the UK like it is.
And even if I've had 1 hour's sleep, which is roughly what I had last night.
No one likes a bragger. No one likes a bragger, mate. Let's leave it there. All right, guys, we're going to
brag you, mate. I can prove it. I can carry on for another 10 hours.
Grand Moff.